I'm your host, Linton Felix, aka L Felix. I'm here with my man Michael Almond, aka Uncle Mike.
Yes, I got to get used to that.
Uncle
Everybody's calling me that now.
Mike. I'm gonna start getting it done. Everybody's gonna
Yeah,
start calling you that. But
yeah.
today's episode, it's a really, really good one, really informative. Normally we know we have laughs and giggles, but today we wanted to address some serious issues and talk to some friends who can help us with those issues. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we decided, hey, let's do a show, bring some young ladies in who are survivors and thrivers from the breast cancer diagnosis, and we just wanted to introduce them, bring them in right now. Here they are. Good friends of mine, my homegirl Mary Lou Burkhart on the bottom left of your screen if you're looking at home, and my homegirl Takiri Spencer, graduate of Clark Atlanta University and also college, a classmate of
Hi.
mine. They're both survivors of breast cancer diagnosis, and we just wanted to have them on the show to tell their story and also hear about the great things that they're doing beyond the cancer diagnosis. So, ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
Thank,
having us.
thank you for
Yes,
doing this and
thank you.
whatnot. For both me and Micah, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for doing
Yes,
this.
yes.
We just wanted to get into this right away, and because I know Takiri's pressed for time, she has a birthday party that she has to take her son to. We want to make sure we get all we can out of her in case she has to leave early. But first and foremost, I wanted you to introduce yourself. So first, we start with Takiri. Let us know a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Takiri, and as you said, I'm a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. I always got to plug that in sometimes,
Yeah, you baby.
HBCUs.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I call myself a cancer thriver because I really believe that it's really a mindset, and that even people, I know people, of course, who still have cancer, living with cancer. And so they're thriving, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's about what you do with it. And for all of us to continue to live our lives. I'm also an entrepreneur, an actress, have a production company. And from my, being diagnosed with stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer when I was 36 weeks pregnant, and this journey that I've been on, I decided to start a nonprofit. It's called Thrive Beyond Cancer, to help any and everyone going through this, because it's not easy, but I want to inspire people and to let them know that they're not alone and that they're not a failure, and we are in this together.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear that from you. And yeah, definitely, that your story is amazing. But you're here today, and we're happy to have you. And next up,
Thank you.
good friend, homegirl from back in the day. We did lots of parties and had a lot of good
We
times back
did.
at Rhode Island College.
We
As a part of, what
did.
was it, Harambe?
Harambe,
Yep,
yes.
I had Levant. I had Levant on the other day.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
we were
She's
doing real
in
estate.
the real estate game, by
Yeah,
the way, as you
we
know.
did a real estate episode, and
Oh,
she was on that. But
blessings.
introducing my
Definitely.
good friend Mary Lou Burkhart. Mary
Hey,
Lou,
everyone.
the
Yes.
stage is yours. Let us know about you.
So I am originally from Rhode Island. I went to college with Linton at Rhode Island College, and as you mentioned, we threw the parties there. We made things happen, and now I'm living in New York. I've been here for 17 years now. It's been a blessing here. I've done a lot of things from corporate side to agency, and transitioned into yoga teaching just because I loved it so much and wanted to give in that way. I was diagnosed in 2019, breast cancer stage 1. I didn't have a lump whatsoever. I always mention that because I always say a mammogram definitely saved my life in that sense, because I would have never known. And that was my second mammogram. And ever since then, I've just been on the journey of like self-healing, discovery, and that type of thing. And also just connecting with other people. Of course, I've met so many people as well, just with breast cancer or actually going through breast cancer, which is a sad thing to see, of course, but just understanding and knowing that I can help them in a way. So my yoga has transitioned to not only general population, but oncology yoga I was recently certified in to help those who have either in treatment or in recovery, because whatever type of surgery or treatment you're going through, you can have many symptoms and side effects. So we're using yoga to help mitigate those side effects in that sense as well. So yeah, helping in any way possible, and especially just understanding not only the stress, physical stress, but the mental stress, because not only are they dealing with physical ailments, but they're dealing with relationship and work and financial status. It all comes together, and sometimes post-treatment you're kind of left on your own. There's really nothing
Really?
yeah, there's really no plan post except for maybe some scans. You can seek therapy and that type of thing, but
Mhm.
it's interesting how that's not heavily offered. So to find a community to help each other is very beneficial and something I'm loving to form this time.
That's amazing.
It's
That's amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Definitely amazing. Now, one of the interesting things you said, Mary Lou, is that you didn't have a lump. You just
I did not know. I had my first mammogram at 40. I was definitely, once I turned 40, I was like, it's going to happen. This is, and I had issues with that because of insurance and doctors. And I think that's
Mhm.
a whole other subject in itself.
yes, sir. Yeah.
So the first mammogram was fine. Second mammogram at 41, they had discovered a mass. They didn't identify it as cancer right away, but it was something of suspicion. I had to get a biopsy. And that time in between is stressful because that doesn't happen right away. That happened like weeks later.
Yep.
And received the biopsy, and it came back as cancerous. So it was quite a shock. The lump actually didn't form till after, which I thought was interesting. I guess it clusters up once it's been biopsied.
Mhm.
But yeah, I stress that a lot because I know a lot of women out there are afraid to get mammograms. I feel people fear radiation, which I completely understand, or they just fear the unknown, like many of us do. Sometimes we put off going to the doctor because like we'd rather not,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
if I don't go, I don't have anything.
I don't have it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I'm glad I was diligent in doing that because had I waited, I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Kiri? I know you said it was 37 weeks, and was it part of your pregnancy plan, or was it just a doctor's visit?
So when it's my first time being pregnant, and I was about 4 or 5 months.
Hmm.
I was working out one day, and the day after, like, my left breast became like inflamed, and I was
Hmm.
just like, well, what could be going on, and I thought, oh, well, maybe my milk is starting to form.
Yeah.
But then about a couple of weeks later, I was like, something is not right. And so I remember I emailed my doctor, and she's like, oh yeah, we'll just check it out at your next appointment. And when she saw it, she was like, oh, you need to go to the surgeon right now. And so I went to the surgeon, um, and he did a punch biopsy. And then they had me do a bunch of sonograms.
Hmm.
Um, and they couldn't really see anything. It was just like a mass. And the punch biopsy came back negative.
What's a punch biopsy?
It's just like the top part of your skin. Really,
Hmm.
it's not going deep in. It's just like right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Um, and so about like 2 months after that, I ended up going to Atlanta because my husband, we both work in the entertainment industry. He was working on a show. And so I had a new doctor. And she was like, yeah, let's let another surgeon take a look at it. And then this time they performed a regular biopsy.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out.
Mm.
And tomorrow will actually be 5 years since that date.
I saw you mentioned that
Um,
last night on your live that
yeah,
you had.
yeah. So that's how I found out. They were talking about, well, you could try to do a mammogram, but they were concerned because I was pregnant and the radiation, and then the fact that it was, if it would hurt, because at this time, like my breast was starting to hurt
Yeah.
for
For
several reasons, and
Mhm.
that was part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I found out. And I was 34.
34. How about you? You said, Mary Lou, you were 40, 41?
I was 41. Yeah. And I would say that's an unfortunate thing about mammograms. Not saying that they are beneficial, but I would say the unfortunate part of it is that people are not screened that early. You're told to
Mhm.
screen at 40 and after.
Yep.
And more people I'm meeting, the more women I'm meeting are under 40.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not
Yep.
sure when that change or how that change can happen, but it's not soon enough.
Well,
Yep.
in my research for doing this episode, I started looking at the breast cancer, who was it? Uh, Whoever the authority is on breast cancer, they had a chart and they started showing the trend from 2012 to 2017 where the 40 and under was starting to the levels where in 2006 or whatever, it was low. But as the years have progressed, 40 and under started getting diagnosed at a higher rate, not the highest rate, but at a higher rate than they used to.
Mhm.
And I was reading, and it was just like a lot of different things can contribute to that. People's access to health care.
Mhm.
Some women may have not gotten diagnosed back in the day, so they had no idea. But that is interesting. Other question is, after you found out the diagnosis, like, I know myself, if my wife got diagnosed with lupus, and I know I went into a frenzy, she did too, just trying to deal with that. I can not imagine to carry you how many 3-4 months pregnant, and Mary Lou, you're just going in for your regular checkups, and you get this diagnosis. When it comes back, what went through your head?
Yes. What was on y'all minds?
I mean,
Wow.
I can only imagine as a man, but
Yeah.
especially as an expectant mother and someone just living life and starting out on a new track in life, like, how did this make you feel? Like, what was your first thoughts?
Zakira, you want to go ahead?
Sure. It's
I know
always like
you're like
crazy,
you're like
right?
ready to like you come out
Right.
with
Going back to that moment is like,
yeah.
I just felt like the world had slowed down,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like in a really bad movie, like a dream.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that was like happening to me. But the crazy part is the night before, I got diagnosed during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so, football season. The surgeon called me on a Monday, and so on that Sunday night, they had like the NFL was like talking about their support of Breast Cancer Awareness
Mm-hmm.
Month, and I had like this sinking feeling in my gut, like in me. I just knew something was wrong. But then when he called me like at 8 a.m. that
Yeah.
morning, because he called twice, and I was like, if a doctor's calling you twice, back
Mm-hmm.
to back,
Yeah.
something ain't right.
Mhm.
And so when he called, whew, I just, I couldn't believe it, you know? And I just had to get strong, but really I kind of went into isolation mode. I didn't want to talk to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want anybody to know. I just wanted to tell the people that I wanted to tell. I didn't want the world to know because I didn't want to talk about it. I'm still processing this information, So I was getting upset that people were telling other people. And I know that they were doing it to show that they were supporting me, but
Mhm.
I needed a moment to just breathe for a second. So yeah.
That was that empty sinking feeling.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Mary Lou?
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I mean, when it was first happening, I was going to an outside clinic that my doctor referred me to get the mammogram done. So they can't tell you any specifics. They have to relate to your doctor. So you're kind of left, they're still telling you things and you're asking, they're like, well, we can't say anything. So that's even more frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So when everything happened, and I finally was able to, my doctor's office called me. And I never forget, because it was the day I was meeting with friends, because it was a friend's birthday. And she called me that morning, and I was out in the city already. I was teaching during the day, and they wanted me to come in. And I was like, no, I would appreciate it if she's available for me to speak with her. And I understand from her perspective, she wanted to tell me face to face, but me and my my anxiety was through the roof. I couldn't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So she ended up calling me back. She understood, my frustration and just, nervousness. And she told me over the phone, and I'm very thankful for her at that time. Only because she was very great over the phone with me, and just, she's like, I still want to see you. I still want you to come in, and so forth and so on. And I did, go in and see her with my partner. So we sat there, and as overwhelmed as I was, I don't know, she just brought a sense of calm and relief for me, because she was like, listen, unfortunately, this happens a lot. She's like, you're caught at a very early stage. She's like, unfortunately, this is like a small, people look at it as a small cold now that you can catch. So it's very treatable.
Yeah.
She didn't know, I didn't know things could go awry. Now I know things can go awry going forward, meaning like other things can be found, which, I didn't know at that time, but what I didn't know, I didn't know. And she brought us at ease. She's like, she kept telling me, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I just sat with that. And that's all I could. And that voice was always in my head talking to me, like, you're going to be okay. And whether that was naivety or what have you, that helped me during that time, because it was overwhelming for myself and obviously for my partner as well, because it was just a shock. It was a shock.
Yeah.
And it was such a shock that I definitely surrounded myself with friends. That night, I told my friends while at dinner, and that was overwhelming, but those were my closest friends and I trusted them.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell my mother. I couldn't tell my mother or my sister. I didn't tell them until my surgery was scheduled in February, well, early in January. And I hated keeping that from them, but they worry so much in general.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was like, listen, if you feel like they're going to be a burden rather than a support, which, you know, your family is supportive, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to go through the stress of having them call you every day when you're going through what you're going through. So that was very hard in itself, keeping that from them. I was home for the holidays and had to keep it a secret. It was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. And just trying to keep upbeat for my nephews and my nieces and just not try to cry around them, you know, just like, oh my God, I love you guys so much, being really extra.
Yeah, and you're a Cape Verdean family, so everybody tight knit. So
Everybody's
I'm
tight.
sure it's something like that.
Yes.
It's hard to just.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
And I know, you know, listening to you guys and following you on Instagram and whatnot and seeing your stories, we named the theme of this show is Stay Gold from something I saw on Mary Lou's page from, what is it, Pony Boy? What is that? What is The Outsiders?
Yes.
And you guys kind of like, both of you have that personality of positivity. And I think that was poignant in what you said, where Stay Gold was more like, hey, you got to stay confident, you got to stay happy, you got to stay positive, so to speak.
You got to stay grounded.
Stay grounded, yep. And that leads me to the next thing I wanted to talk about is just, okay, now that we've gotten the diagnosis, how you say family, it was hard to tell your mother because of that worry. Once you started going through the process, the support system, what was your support system? Like what did they do? What worked for you? Like when you started going, what made you feel comfortable? I know, Mary Lou, you said your doctor just telling you everything's going to be all right. But Takiri, we'll start with you. What was that for you?
My family is like the best. And I found like my friends are just so dope. So my older sister, Tanisha, she came to Atlanta to be with me. She was there for the birth of my son. And then my parents came, and then we all went to the Bay Area where I'm from. So I went home to Oakland. And I knew like I needed to be around them. Like I remember telling my husband one night when we were outside, I was like, man, I just need to laugh. And I knew that my brothers and sisters, I have 6 brothers and sisters, and they're all in the Bay, that they were going to make me laugh.
Yeah.
And every day, like my sister or aunt or a cousin or a friend, they would call me, and they would call me to pray. They weren't calling me to tell me what to do, because that's a whole nother stressful thing. People always trying to tell you, and I get it, like they care about you, they love you or whatnot. But like sometimes people, they should ask, like, hey, is it okay if I send you this information? You know, because it's so overwhelming. We're already trying to figure it out for ourselves. The pressure of a family or a friend trying to tell us what we should do does not help. So the prayers what really, really helped for me. And like, of course, in a situation like that, like I really, really, really got really, really close to God. And, you know, God told me, like, he was like, I'm going to heal you. And I know the way from that moment to what I did from there to when I had my first treatment, people thought I was probably crazy because I wasn't doing what they thought I should be doing. But, you know, it's all about my faith. And then a couple of months after that, my husband's cousin invited me to be a part of this prophetic prayer group. So me praying for other people at like my lowest point, like really helped me. Like it made me take the focus off of myself and really start focusing on other people. And like, okay, I know I have this thing going on, but other people have other things going on. And it just made me feel like a person because it's so isolating.
Yeah, a little bit of normalcy to see.
Yes, normalcy, exactly. So my family and my friends, they were amazing.
And you, Mary Lou?
My friends were the ultimate support. I mean, I had, you know, this was happening, you know, right before COVID hit. So friends would show up to me with, you know, for appointments. If my partner couldn't, drove me to appointments. And I was able to connect with various people. So one group of friends had people they knew who had been through breast cancer. So they connected me with them. And I had another friend whose aunt had gone through it, whom I knew personally. So the structure of friends and the extended family from that was so helpful because I got to talk to so many women who had been through it. And one person's mother I'll never forget was like, you need to protect your mind no matter what.
Mhm.
She's like, your mind will go left the minute it can. You have to protect your mind and what's happening. And my partner had to remind me of that because I was looking at some like worst case scenarios, like, look, you know, you go into dive into the internet and like, what's going on at this and that, do your own research, what have you. And my partner was like, you can't look at that stuff. Like I was looking at construction. I didn't know if I was going to have like this type of surgery, that type of surgery. He's like, look for signs of hope.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed to do. I need to look at examples of people who healed. I needed to look at examples of people who took control of their own destiny in that sense, because you can fall very much back and just let the doctors take over and just become void and numb and just say, okay, whatever you say, I'll do whatever you say. But that shouldn't be. You have a say in this process. Yep. So that helped me feel very empowered in connecting with more people through the friends that I had.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Quick question. You know, they say, you know, going through this process not only, you know, affects you, but your family as well. What kind of things did you see your family struggle with, or, you know, how did they feel, you know, once they did find out, you know, the news?
Good question.
I'll never forget. So when my mom came out to Atlanta to be with me, she had a moment where she broke down. And I'll never forget that moment ever. And we were looking at, you know, different places for me to go to, you know, because I was even thinking about going to Mexico. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm one of those, I'm big on alternative medicine and all of that. So I'm like looking at stuff that's not the conventional side as well. It's very, very important to me. But I think she had just got off the phone with the place and they were just like, well, as long as it didn't spread to like her liver. So now like my mom's thinking about, you know, maybe you should just do chemo because I don't want it to spread to your liver, you know? And I'm just like, and to see her that vulnerable, you know, normally my mom is just super strong. Not that I've never seen her cry before, but now we're talking about me in this situation. That, my brother calling me on the phone and then he's crying, like thinking about it is like, oh my God, don't start crying. Don't start crying. And then, you know, even like one of my really close friends, she was just like, she was praying and she was talking to God and she was like, God, like we are too young for this. Do not tell me that now in our 30s and I'm about to start having friends that I'm losing. Like, no, that cannot happen, you know? So I'll never forget all of those moments. And even my husband, he's not a crier, but he broke down and cried and he is not a crier. So it's, yeah, I'll always remember those moments, how it affected them, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, when I finally told, like initially I had told my friends, like I mentioned, and obviously it was a shock to them. And you know, and I was really at the time, as much as I was telling them about my diagnosis, I was like, you all need to get your mammogram like today. Like I was right away. I was being the advocate right away. And so like that, you know, the pure shock on their faces, obviously. And then when I finally told my family, once everything was scheduled, my mother, of course, my partner and I called her together and she could not stop crying on the phone. Could not stop crying on the phone. My mother is not a person, well, she's not well enough. She has chronic illness. So she's not well enough to just jump on a bus or train to come here. So and I think that's part of why I didn't want to tell in the first place. I don't want her to feel a certain way about not being here for me. And my sister as well. And my sister has 3 kids. She has an extremely busy life. I couldn't hold that against her, obviously. But, you know, my sister and my mother just right away were just like, okay, you know, and my partner was always in contact with them and just like reassuring them that, you know, he was taking care of things and friends are taking care of things. So it was hard, you know, obviously they had to cry it out. My mom called me probably every day up until the surgery, as well as my sister. And then post-surgery, it was calling my partner, Ben, and asking how I was doing after that. But it's difficult because you never want to share this news, right? You never want to, especially a mother to a child, it's just devastating. My mother never would want to see, obviously your mother would never want to see her child go first. They're the ones preparing to go first.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, just thinking about it now, because, you know, not just breast cancer, like full disclosure, I've lost a grandmother on my stepmom's side, and people say, "Oh, it's not your grandmother," but she was my grandmother. Lost her in like 96, 97, around there. But after that, we lost my uncle a few years in mid 2000s, a couple years back, to cancer as well. So this, like, getting the news from that, like, I understand how it is, because I wanted to, with my uncle, it was just like he would come to Atlanta for work, and I would be like just hanging out with him. But when he got the diagnosis, I found myself realizing that I didn't do more to just be there. So I found myself just trying to be more positive. Like Takiri said, when I called and talked to him, it wasn't about the cancer. I just asked him, "How are you doing?" And I think that's a great thing
Mhm.
that your family and friends did. It was more, "Okay, you're good, and then let's talk about something else."
Yeah.
Because, like Mary Lou said, your mind can wander, and the mind is a powerful tool. It can
Mhm.
help and it can hurt as far as your positivity. So if your mind starts going and thinking about the ultimate and the far end of the spectrum, it can
Mhm.
lead you down that route. So you have to maintain a positive mindset. So it's
Yep.
great that your family, even though that they were, or we say, grief stricken, but they turned that around and said, "No, yeah, we had our moment, but we still have to be there." And I think that's a good thing, that that they're there for you.
Mhm.
It hurts them, but they're still gonna keep fighting through with you.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I want to move on to is, so now that we've told our families, and, like, I know, Mary Lou, you said you had surgery, and Takira, you said you had chemotherapy.
hmm
Okay, so was it based on, like, this is my understanding of the different types of breast cancers. Um, so yours, Mary Lou, required surgery
Mhm. And
and
radiation.
and radiation.
Yes.
So was did you have options, or was that the best mode of
You
combat?
do have options, well, depending on your circumstance. And I can only say depending, it really varies on your circumstance, because like you probably saw, like you could be stage 1 through 4. It could
Mhm.
depend on your tumor size. It could depend on if
hmm
it's spread in your lymph nodes. It could depend on, like, if it's localized. Like, there's just so many layers to
Yeah.
Yep.
the options. And when I first met my breast surgeon, I had to realize, like, she's great, don't get me wrong, but she is a surgeon.
Mhm.
And right away, the way they presented, she's like, well, we can either do a mastectomy or a lumpectomy. And,
Mhm.
lumpectomy is just taking partial of the breast, mastectomy is taking the whole breast. But the way it was presented was kind of just like, it's this and apples and oranges. And I'm
Uh-huh.
sitting there like, why? I know you're talking normally about this because this is your day to day,
Mhm.
but this is the first time I
Yes.
almost couldn't deal with it in that moment. And of course, right away, I was like, well, if I have the option of lumpectomy, I'd prefer that. But she was like, okay, we need more tests done though. Meaning that, like, I had to get an MRI biopsy
Wow.
to determine if it was
Wow.
anywhere else.
hmm
And then I did have the MRI biopsy, and there was another mass, and I was just freaking out at that point, but thankfully it was benign.
Okay.
So that's when I say, like, even though my doctor was telling me in the beginning it was okay, and I'm so glad I believed that, because so many things could change,
Mhm.
past that diagnosis and the exams that you take. So yeah, like, I had a lumpectomy, radiation. My tumor size also determined whether I was getting chemo or not. Like, if I had been 5 millimeters or more, they would have recommended chemo to me.
Okay.
And because it was under that, they just recommended radiation.
And you, Takiri?
So originally, since a biopsy was done, they, when I was pregnant, they were like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do chemo, you're going to have surgery, and then you're going to do radiation. Now, when they told me that, I laughed and was like, all that's not going to happen.
Really?
And it's nothing against any of that, you know what I mean? But like, and when I think back, I'm just like, what did I really do that? And I was just talking to God. I was like, nope, that's not happening. That's not happening. And they couldn't really tell me. I mean, I know that they wanted to do that, but they couldn't really tell me for sure because I was still pregnant and they needed me to do a PET scan.
Mm.
And the reason why I didn't end up doing surgery or radiation is because it had metastasized. And the type of cancer I had
Mhm.
was it's inflammatory breast cancer, which is already aggressive. And on top of that, I was pregnant. So it was moving, it was growing really, really fast because the hormones was feeding it.
Feeding it. Yeah. Mhm.
And so
Wow.
that's part of the reason why I didn't end up doing radiation or surgery, is because it had metastasized. And I guess they felt like, well, what's the point of that? And originally, so mind you, I didn't want to do chemo. I was like, I don't want to do chemo. I had to pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a holistic doctor first, and he was like, well, you can opt to just do targeted therapy first, which the type of cancer is HER2 positive. There's like these two drugs. It's called Herceptin and Perjeta that will
Mm-hmm.
target those cells.
So, okay.
And my doctor was like, at least she was cool about it. She's like, listen, you can decide if this is what you want to do or not. I support you either way. And she was like, I just want to let you know, though, that only 10% of the people who just do the targeted therapy, it's successful.
Wow.
Well, I ended up being part of the 10% of the people.
Okay.
And then I prayed about it again.
Mhm.
And God was like, okay, I want you to do chemo. I was like, okay. And my prophetic prayer group, they prayed about it. And they were like, they got this vision of like, God standing around me in this hospital bed and that I was covered. So I'm not gonna lie, I was super, super, super scared. Like I used to be scared of everything, needles and everything. So this happened to somebody who's just a scaredy cat. But now I'm a G. So
From Oakland, baby. Can't
right, I'm Oakland, okay.
Hey.
Bay Area. And so yeah, I did chemo, and I started like the end December 29th, 2016. And by February, it was like my second chemo treatment, no cancer
Into that.
in that time, which is they could not believe that. But I say, like, again, like for me, when I look back on my journey, and even now, like I really don't do anything unless God tell me to do it.
Mhm.
Because I can get so caught up in what everybody else wants me to do, what my doctor is saying, or this and that. And just also learning, like Mary Lou was saying, like you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
The doctor can tell you one thing, and not saying that they don't mean well, but this is what they've been trained to do, and that's great.
Mhm.
But like really, like what is your soul saying? Like what is God saying to you? What's best for you as the individual? Because as we all know, I can do all of these things. It could work for you. It may not. So you really have to know what works for you.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. And just listening to you guys, I'm like, I don't know if I know
Yeah.
they say men
Wow.
can get it, but it's like 1 in 1,000 or something like that. But just dealing with like just hearing you guys talk, it's like, how did you keep your spirits up? Like I know me, just I had pain in my neck and my back, and I was all like ready to fold the tents up and like I'm just going to retire, go on disability. But I couldn't imagine you guys, the strength it took and emotional and mental fortitude to go through this. So after going through all that, all the testing, all the treatments, the day the doctor comes to you and says, hey, you're clear, clean bill of health, what was that day like, or that week, or that moment?
Well, I could say for me, it was 2 weeks after the surgery. And I didn't expect to hear news that soon. And
Mhm.
my doctor had called me, and she's like, I just had to call you right away. She's like, we had clear margins. She's like, we got it all, and it didn't spread anywhere. And
Good.
and I was just in shock. And I looked over at my partner, who I think he was sitting on the couch playing video games at that time. And I was like, you need to get off the video game.
Get off of Fortnite.
Exactly. It's actually Overwatch, but whatever. That obsession. But yeah, I was just in shock. And she was, I just love her because she was just so like overjoyed, obviously, for me. And she was like, we still need to meet and have scans and everything like that, but it's good news. And it's interesting because that's what I was praying for. I mean, I had this like little song in my head anytime before surgery and after surgery. I was like, clear scans, cancer free, no evidence of disease. And I would say that to myself every day. And I will make songs for myself every day and affirmations for myself every day just to keep my spirits up. And again, looking for examples of people who had been through this and what they did for themselves. And I recommend a great book called Radical Remission
Yes.
by a doctor. Yes. And great gave great examples of various people who've been through different types of cancer and what they did for themselves, whether it was Western and Eastern medicine, a combination of both. But it's wonderful resources are just out there, and I wish more people knew about them and had access to them, because they help so much.
That's great. What about you, Takira, that day? Because I know I seen your photos on Instagram where you had your sign and you got your certificate and all that. I remember when you posted it, I was like, oh, that's cool as hell, man. I didn't know. What was that day like?
Oh man, it was such a great day. So what's so interesting about it is that was in March. No, that was in May. So at the end of February is when I had the scan. So I found out that there was no cancer, but my doctor still wanted me to do my last 4 chemo treatments.
Mm-hmm.
And so on Cinco de Mayo, which is, it's really big in California,
Yes, it is.
that was my last day of treatment for chemotherapy. And I was so excited. Like, we had a little party. My homegirl was able to, my husband and one of my friend Tamisha, she made that sign for me. And they gave me my certificate. And then we went afterwards to with my other homegirl, Andrea, to celebrate. And then when I went home, we celebrated again. It was, man, probably like, of course, it's like one of the best days of my life, because again, like Marilee was saying, it's something that, I've been praying for my whole family, and they stood on that word. Like, God said he was going to heal you. And they never wavered with that, ever, And so to get to that point was just, oh, look, you pulled it up. To get to that point was just amazing, and, like Mary Lou again said, like, it's your mind. It is your mindset, and to look for people who have gone before you, who have healed, and for positive examples. And that book, Radical Remission, I recommend that book to everybody too. And I even had my palliative care doctor read it. And at least he read it. He was like, yeah, I read it. And I don't really know, but I get it. The way his mind is trained, I get it. I'm not going to argue with you, but at least he read the book. You know what I mean? And the book is amazing. You need that. You need to hear those positive stories of people healing and what they're going through to get to where they're trying to be. It's very, very important. So
that's amazing. You want to jump in, Mike, before I go?
No, I'm just her being a mother. That's just amazing, to balance all of that.
And that's what I'm going to, like, as a mother going through this, like you're not, you would just would have just had a child and going through all this. I was going to ask about that. How is that affecting, with childbearing, like having that stress, like, and raising a newborn? How did that affect you? Did it affect your son as far as, I wouldn't say breastfeeding, but just total care? Were you able to? Were you tired from treatments? How did that work out?
It was really, really tough, because I ended up having to get an emergency C-section, not really because of cancer. Like, they thought I was developing preeclampsia. So healing from a C-section and trying to figure out like what type of treatment I'm going to get. And I'm a researcher, so I research everything. So I'm tired from the research. I'm tired because I'm a new mom and my son is only sleeping like 2 to 3 hours. And so all of that, it was crazy, but I will say, so there was a point where things got really, really dark.
Okay.
And of course, because I'm trying not to think about the negative things, What was crazy is I thought there was a stage 5 cancer. I didn't look to see what the stages were. There is no stage 5. Stage 4 is the highest. And I'm glad I didn't look to see if there was that kept me sane, because I didn't want to go down that dark path. But anyways, I did get to a very low point, because I started thinking like, man, this is before I started treatment. Am I going to make it? And I'm thinking about my son, who's like 1 month at this time. I was praying, like, can I see him when he's 5? My son will be 5 next month. God, can I please see him when he's 10, when he's 15, when he's 20, when he's 25, you know? And it was a couple of days, maybe like a week or two, where I was like in a really dark place. And then I was just like, I can't live my life like this.
Mhm.
No matter what happens, if I'm gone tomorrow or in a couple of years or whatever, how am I going to live my life today? Like, I want to laugh. I can laugh. I can watch TV, nothing. All of that. I was just so down and depressed.
Mhm.
And I was like, nope. So I made a list. All the places I want to see in the Bay Area that I've never went to see, I wrote it down. I started going to those things. I started walking. I started getting sunshine. Started going outside,
Mhm.
laying down on the grass in the front of the house, reading books, like getting myself to a place like, this is not me,
Yeah.
you know? And so I had to get out of that. But like you asked a question about my son, having him made me also take my mind off of everything, because I'm so busy like trying to be a mom.
Mhm.
I mean, I was tired, but I had no time to like really like
To get into your own head,
to
basically.
get into my own head, you
Mhm.
know. So it
Uh,
helped.
And Mary Lou, you with your career, because at this point now you're a
Mhm.
yoga instructor and whatnot.
Mhm.
I know I watch you doing your thing. Still can't do that stuff. It hurts. But, with you getting into your new career and getting there, and all of a sudden this diagnosis, like, how did it affect you at work, or did you pull away? How did you
I
deal?
mean, post surgery, I took a couple weeks off, and I feel like I should have took more. And my partner said the same thing, because I'm always trying to get back to life. I'm like, let's get back into life, and act like not like nothing happened, but I'm just ready to get back into it. But yeah, I realized looking back, I just needed to slow down, because the transition from 9 to 5 to your own thing, as you know, is very stressful.
Yeah.
And a yoga teacher is a very physical thing to take on, running around from class to class. And I was teaching at like, say, 4 different places, running from like uptown to downtown to Brooklyn, teaching all over the place, because I needed gigs. I need to make things happen. I need to network and so
Gotta
forth.
shake. Yep.
So I really needed to slow down. And God was telling me to slow down. Like, that was basically even my partner was like, yeah, this is your sign that you need to slow down
Mm-hmm.
and prioritize rest, and just really looking back at like what I'm doing and how I'm doing things. And even post surgery, like, my jobs were definitely helpful to me, and like anytime you need that type of thing. So I was thankful for that. It was rough though, because as a yoga teacher, you want to see your students. You don't want to leave them hanging or have another teacher take over, that type of thing. So, and I didn't tell my students either. I don't know. It was just a weird thing. It's like, you don't feel like you want to burden people with that or change the energy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But I did tell a couple students that I became close to. So those relationships did blossom, and I'm thankful for that. And I think what it is you practice yoga, right? You teach it.
Yeah.
I really had to understand, am I fully practicing it? I mean, I was so busy doing the work and trying to do this cultural, hustle that we all into in this society. That I'm like, am I really practicing what I'm preaching? I really had to analyze that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's great to have, I think I was going to think about careers. I know, Kiri, because you said you're in the film industry and you travel back and forth. How did did you take I know you had to take time away, but did it affect you career wise, where you had to make decisions like, hey, I may not do this anymore?
At that time, I basically just let go of everything. I was like, none of this is important. And so, yeah, like we were in the Bay Area with my family, and yeah, we basically took a break. And this is when I would say, like, thank God for disability. And thank God for the time that I worked before, because I really needed that break. And prior to like, I stopped working a couple of months into my pregnancy. And then just thinking about my life prior to that, I was doing way too much. And so this really did like help to slow me down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to take care of myself and my body. I have this baby. I'm not going to rush into anything. And then, when it was time, God was like, I want you to start doing this, or I want you to start doing that. And everything, came back how it needed to come back in the
Mhm.
right way. And even now, like, I'm very selective what I give my energy to,
Mm.
which is something that I didn't have before because I was trying to prove myself.
Mhm.
Now it's like I have to be aligned with what I'm doing in order to do it, no matter who's asking.
Mm.
And I'm happy for that. It took a lot of growth, but it took like going through that
Mhm.
to see that, So yeah,
Thank
now
you.
I'm almost back,
Okay. Well, thank you for lending us your energy today. I
Yes.
feel privileged. We feel privileged over here. Now you can say that. But you know, and we've gone through that. Now I want to get to the really good stuff. The thing that I really want people to know about you too. That you've gone through all this. You've had the stresses, you've had the downs and the ups, and now you've taken all of that, and afterwards, both of you have transitioned into using your platform and using your experiences to help other women who are going through this. And I know to carry with Thrive
Beyond Cancer.
Thrive Beyond Cancer. I gotta get that. I'll keep saying on Thrive from, but Thrive Beyond Cancer. And Mary Lou with your yoga, oncology yoga.
Mhm.
I just wanted to get into this now because I know my wife. She's been texting me notes like, get to this. So now I want to get into the aftercare, things you do afterwards. And I know part of it is the career choices you guys have made now. So I want to get into first. Let's find out about you, both the things you're doing, the Thrive Beyond Cancer and the oncology yoga. So whoever wants to go first, we'll touch on that first.
Do you want to go first, Mary?
Yeah, I gotta go first. I think like I said, it's hard post cancer diagnosis and treatment because you're kind of left to your own devices and have to do your own thing. And hopefully most people have a support team, but I think afterwards it was just identifying like, okay, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Like why, maybe kind of investigating like, why did cancer come to be how it was for me? Mine was a hormone driven cancer, estrogen positive. So I was like, okay, where did that come from? And I wanted to learn more. So I teamed up and I got a functional medicine doctor. And I wanted to have tests done to understand myself better, which was very helpful.
What's a functional medicine doctor?
Functional medicine is somebody who encompasses not only physical health, but they include lifestyle, nutrition. They cover the whole body, mental, physical, all of that, and take into account what other things might be affecting your life.
Okay.
And it's interesting, they connect, how your brain is functioning, whether your hormones and this and that. So some doctors treat everything separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
They look at the whole picture. So this functional medicine doctor, she knew I'd been through cancer, but it was more like, okay, how are you feeling now? Like what else is going on? And I was still feeling tired and so on. So it was just understanding like what is dragging me down energy wise. And so I was able to take the Dutch test, which is a hormone test that understands where your levels are for your cortisol level, which gives you energy in the morning, your metabolism, when your melatonin kicks in, because I was having issues with like waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to go back to sleep. My cortisol was kicking in.
Oh, okay.
And I was feeling tired, so it was just a cycle. So I was able to find out that way. So that was very helpful in understanding like digestive issues I had in the past. Was that also contributing? Yes, that was also contributing, because if your liver is not functioning in optimal capacity, it affects your hormones. You're not absorbing nutrients properly. I found I was deficient in some things. So that was helpful to understand that. So that person helped me map out, okay, not only what foods are beneficial, how, not really what foods, but how I'm eating the foods, what am I taking in, the macros, that type of thing. I also decided to work with a herbalist through Radical Remission. I found a doctor through that and worked with him, and he was wonderful because he was also a scientist. So he understood both.
Awesome.
Okay.
Both worlds. And he worked with people specifically with cancer as well. And he also could tell you like the constitution of your body and what foods didn't really help you. And so that was helpful. Okay. So it was really about getting a team together, really, you know what I mean? That could understand me, make myself understand me more. And obviously continuing yoga for myself, taking it easy, rest had to be prioritized. Going back to naps, the simple things of naps, even though I wasn't fully sleeping.
Naps over everything.
Over everything.
They do the trick.
Yeah.
They do the trick.
And just, I mean, Radical Remission, and I mentioned that again because I know to carry you, you know, it was a great book because it talked about 9 points that you should be focusing on, and nutrition and physical activity are just 2 points, but it was also laughter, time with friends. You know what I mean? There were other points of lifestyle that were like, what are you doing for yourself every day to actually get your emotions high? Because science is finding out more and more now, your emotions influence how you feel, mind, body, you know, how it affects your hormones, your immune system, that type of thing. So it was really just paying attention and also just continuing that creating daily rituals, meditating as much as I could. But also, you know, like I said, rest. I'll go back to rest all the time because I can have my team, I can have all the support, but if I'm not doing things for myself, like rest, what am I really doing?
Yeah.
What about you, Takira?
It's so funny that you mentioned functional medicine doctor because I got one too. And I really think that like when I got my functional medicine doctor was around the time that I started chemo. So I didn't have any side effects from chemo outside of losing my hair, which I could have got a cold cap, like my eyebrows. I got my eyebrows tinted. It's plant-based, but like my eyebrows still growing back, my eyelashes.
It's beyond eyelash, beyond eyebrows.
Right. The good thing is like, I mean, this may be TMI, but you get like a free Brazilian because, you know, I would say that's the one positive of chemo. The only I didn't have to shave, you know.
Money saved.
Yep. Facts. That's silver lining and everything.
But I would like that, and you know, correcting my nutritional like vitamin deficiencies, all of that. That really, really helped. Acupuncture, like every 3 weeks, I would get my acupuncture. That helps as well with any type of side effects. And you know, at one point though, because it had metastasized to parts of my spine. My doctor thought it was because like, so I was walking with a cane for a little bit. I knew it wasn't because of that. I knew it was like because of the C-section. And it eventually like, you know, we know our bodies, like that was why really didn't have to do with the cancer. But anyways, like all of that really, really helped. And acupuncture really, really helped. And physical therapy helps. And eventually, like my holistic doctor had said, I think you're ready to see a therapist. Before, she didn't think I was ready to see a therapist, but she was like, I think you're ready to see a therapist one-on-one. I don't think that you're the type of person to do group therapy because you take on other people's, you know, energy. And if they say something negative, I don't want it to bring you down. And I was like, how did you know? Like, I've been thinking about going to see a therapist. So with all of that, you know, like Mary Lou said again, like building your own wellness team and learning all of these things that a lot of people just don't know, whether you have cancer or not, is what really, really inspired me to start Thrive Beyond Cancer and to share this information with people and, you know, to raise enough money to give people who can't afford these resources, because functional medicine, all of that is out of pocket. You know, it's not covered through insurance.
It's not covered through insurance?
And so,
okay.
No. Some places maybe a little bit, but for the most part, like you have to pay out of pocket. You have to pay for supplements, you know, vitamins, you know, food, all of that. And so that's why I started Thrive Beyond Cancer. And the one thing that I knew, like, so when I was first diagnosed, I knew I needed emotional healing and spiritual healing. Like I would always get this vision of me and God on a mountain alone, like talking with each other. So I'm like super, super big on that. And it's part of the reason why I think that talking about trauma, like I didn't think that this was considered trauma, even though when somebody tells me they've been diagnosed with something, I'm like, whoa, like that's just so much. But I think it's because we don't associate chronic illnesses with trauma per se. We think of like somebody who got into an accident or domestic violence or something like that. We don't think about an illness, but it's super traumatic. So that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing, and doing a workshop on Monday
Yep.
to talk about that, to help people and emotionally deal with the trauma of chronic illness.
Mhm.
Great, great. So I was listening to your, Mary Lou. You got you got a functional medicine doctor. You got holistic
An herbalist as well.
herbalist as well.
Yeah, I also went to physical therapy,
Mhm,
acupuncture at the time as well.
mhm,
And just continue to speak to other people who went through it, maybe what they did, and then referred to other sources. Radical Remission has a site where they actually post people who have actually healed themselves or have gone through traditional and Western and that type of thing. So you can always look to those sources. Anti-Cancer Living is another one where they share people's success stories.
mhm.
And then when I went through my oncology yoga training, the founder said something so profound. She was like, there are more people living with this disease than dying. She's like, you need to realize that this is not end all be all. This is,
No, it isn't.
you have to realize, and that's what you have to put your
They
frame
said
of
there's like
mind.
over 700,000 people with with the diagnosis who are living and thriving in life,
Thriving.
so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
But also, as far as, because I know Takira, you're vegan now,
hmm
and Mary Lou, you as well, right?
I'm not vegan. I would say I'm pescatarian. I'm still
Pescatarian?
eating eggs and fish. I'm primarily plant based. Is pretty
Plant-
much what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so is that something you guys recommend, like afterwards? Like, we got your team together. Do you recommend do they recommend dietary changes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Mhm.
think Takira, you can speak to this as well. I mean, it's a choice, right? It's your own personal choice.
Mhm.
My doctor didn't functional medicine doctor didn't specifically say I had to stop eating like meat or anything like that. To her, like, I feel like every person is so different. Like I've talked to people who do keto, and there's a doctor actually specializes in it, and she suffered from ovarian cancer and keto helped heal her. There are
Mhm.
people
Yep.
who do vegan and help heal them. But I feel like because everybody's so different, their constitution is so different, you never know what's going to help you. But we do know that science is coming more and more. Like plants are greens are helpful. Like we don't
Mhm.
get enough of that. We're getting a lot of carb heavy, which carbs are not the devil, but we're not having a balance. Like,
Yeah.
are you eating your greens every day? Are you eating more vegetables? Where are the places we're getting more nutrients from? Are you actually including that more in your diet?
Yeah.
Okay. And you, Takira?
I agree with everything Mary Lou said. I I became a vegan like a year before my diagnosis, but
Mhm.
there's levels to it. You can be a vegan and eat like crap,
Yeah.
even though you're eating vegetables, but you may be eating a whole bunch of sugar and processed foods.
Oreos are vegan.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yep, I heard that. I
Yep.
saw it on a
Yes.
TV show. I thought it was a
Exactly.
joke, and I was
Yes.
like, "Well,
Exactly.
I've been practicing veganism for a long
Long time.
time." Nah, that's funny. But what I want to get to now before I lose my
Well,
train of
I
thought.
had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Just from what I'm hearing, everybody's journey is different throughout the
Mhm.
process. Um, what are some out there treatments or anything you all have heard, like extreme ones that y'all have come across in your research? Because I've
That even
heard there's
you, yeah,
things
even
where
you
like,
might look at it like,
yeah, like I'm not doing that. Like,
Well, something that's actually getting more attention now. John Hopkins has a study for mistletoe therapy.
the actual mistletoe.
Actual mistletoe that's actually being used in other countries, say Germany, to treat certain types of
Mhm.
cancer, especially breast
Wow.
cancer and ovarian cancer. So that's something may seem extreme, but it's a natural element in our environment that
Yeah.
I've actually found to be useful.
yeah.
I'm sure to hear you mentioned Mexico. I was calling clinics in Mexico, like, what do you offer? And the one I spoke to told me that they do offer a cancer vaccine. And to my understanding, they take your own DNA
Mhm.
and create the vaccine from your own DNA in that cancer type. So I don't know what their success rate is or anything like that. Not everybody is eligible for that. It really depends on where you are in the status. It's very expensive. You have to go to Mexico and be in these clinics and be treated. There's the Gerson therapy, which is another clinic
Yep.
in Mexico that has a very, I would say, strict guideline of what you cannot eat. It's very juice heavy.
Mhm.
And you do coffee enemas, which I find
Mhm.
crazy, but
I've heard about those.
people, they work for people as well because
Mhm.
we have a lot of waste built up in our system, which I understand. So,
Mhm.
Gary, I'm sure you've heard more as well.
Mary Lou, I think we've called the same people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I feel like we're sisters, and
Yeah.
we just now found out because we've done like the same things.
Yes.
There's one thing that I'm actually thinking about doing that my holistic doctor has. I think Michael Jackson used to do this. It's the hyperbaric chamber.
Hyperbaric chamber, yeah. Mhm.
But he was like, I think it would really just be good for you, you know, because cancer cells cannot exist
Mm-hmm.
when you're like in there, and it helps to like reset everything. So I'm actually thinking about doing that. There's some other protocols that people have done that they said have been beneficial. I didn't do it because part of that is because I'm vegan. So I was like, I'm not gonna eat that. Like,
Yeah.
but you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's infrared sauna. I do that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
What's
But
that,
some people
infrared
haven't
sauna?
heard of that. It's
What is
getting
that?
more popular now because there's even like workouts you can do inside of an infrared sauna.
Mm-hmm. And there are definitely standalone places that, like in New York, especially, they have their own pop-ups. They're supposed to offer their own benefits, like the red from the sauna lights, or it's supposed to help the cells in your body, and the heat helps as well.
Yep. And my
Wow.
parents bought one actually. They have
wow.
one in their house.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a question that came across on Facebook. Let's see. There's so many who don't recognize any to break. What was it that brought you to that decision?
Burnout.
Burnout.
I
Yeah.
realized I was burnt out before my diagnosis, and I had to slowly like build myself back up, you know,
Mhm.
and not just the way I had to think about things and the way I wanted to feel. If it brought me some type of anxiety,
Mhm.
I knew I had to stay away from it. I wasn't ready for that, you know. So I think you really have to listen to yourself and think about like why you're even doing what you're doing. Because a lot of times our influences is based on what was taught to us from society, friends, family members,
Mhm.
that you're supposed to be doing this. And so you're trying to
Mhm.
keep up with it, but it's really not aligned with who you are and what you really want to be, or who, you know. So you got to really reflect and think about those things. I think you kind of know if you need a break and you're like pushing yourself too hard.
Mhm.
Legend. But you same thing. That was
Oh, same thing. Definitely burnout. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely in a culture of like, oh, we're tired. Just push a little bit more. You'll finish.
Mhm.
You go to the finish line. Once you get to the finish line, you're just like exhausted.
and then you still got and then they're like, well, we got another race to run, so you never get that break. I know the feeling
Yeah.
greatly. Like sometimes you need to just step away.
Mhm.
I think we're going through breast cancer or just cancer diagnosis or any kind of ailment. Sometimes it's just the body like, hey, we need to stop for a second,
Mhm.
maybe reset, and maybe new energy. I don't know what it is, but a good rest, a good nap, will help. I'm trying to get that myself, but 2 kids running around.
Yeah, bless you. I know. I can't
I
imagine
know
kids.
my wife is the saint. Like, I'm gonna say that, she watching, so she's the one. They're on top of her. Like, I come in and I'm like, hey, I yell, I throw some rage, I shake my fist, but she deals with that. So I know she needs a break every now and then. And definitely the rest does help. Now I'm just happy that you two have thrived through all of this, and you've become these like new people almost, because
Mhm.
I knew you guys coming up. I knew Mary Lou since like 96, 97.
Yeah, that's
And
incredible. Yeah.
Shakiri in like 2000 met you at CAU, and to see who you are now, yeah, like I try to forget that other person. Not saying like I want to forget you, but it's like this new person who you become because of this
Mhm.
is really, really, I admire that person, and I just wanted to say that to you guys. Now I really admire you and the strength and everything that you've been through this, and to come out with the smiles on your faces and the energy you have and the willingness to help others. That's just, yeah, like my homegirl Yvette said, my wife. Yep, yeah, she is.
Oh, thank you.
Aw, thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
But I wanted to give, I wanted
You
to talk
are
about.
too.
Yeah, she is awesome. Just kidding. Your oncology yoga. I just wanted to talk about that real quick.
Yes.
Like, I know there's yoga, but
Mhm.
what is? I wanted
Yes.
to ask you that. What is it? Like, how does it
Sure.
work?
It's simply a modified version of regular yoga. And
Uh-huh.
even over the years as I taught, I know everybody needs modifications. Like I know, Linton, you said I can't do some of the stuff. Many people can't do a lot of things that
Mhm.
yoga has, given us. But it really is just understanding what that person is going through. Like we don't do downward dogs. There's nothing heavy on the arms, no weight bearing movements. It's really about just getting the movement in, because the American Cancer Society recommends
Mhm.
for people going through cancer to be moving 150 minutes a week or more
Okay.
to help your lymphatic system. So we're doing moves in yoga, obviously, which generally help our lymphatic system, which just supports our immune system,
Mhm.
supports the blood and all that. So it's really modified vinyasa, and vinyasa yoga is really movement, but a connecting breath. So constant movement in the flow. So we're a lot of floor exercises, but also standing. You got to build strength, got to help bone density, because there are things that cancer patients deal with, which is bone loss during chemo,
Yeah. Mhm.
fatigue, digestion issues, weight gain. A lot of people see in cancer in movies that people are like, skinny or rail thin. That doesn't happen a lot of times when they're on these chemo drugs. A lot of times they gain a lot of weight. Sorry, apologize about the New
New
York
York
noise.
City.
City
New York
noise.
City.
New York.
Yeah. So it is, it's just changing the way we move through the practice. And we use blocks a lot. I love yoga blocks. I wish I could give them to everybody. We use about 2 to 4 yoga blocks. And what that does is it helps you get up and down. It's helping you move through the transitions and be more supportive in the practice. So you're not feel like you're going to fall over yourself, because a lot of times, you just fingertips on the ground. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't feel stable that way. It's a lot of balance in yoga. You want to be able to hold on to something.
Mhm.
So it's giving yourself the ease and giving yourself that awareness that what does your body feel like in this moment? When do you need help? Do you need to reach for those blocks? Do you need to sit down? Do you need to just breathe? So meditation, of course, and breath work is always included, just like any yoga class.
Mhm.
So it's really just modifying the practice to really help with mobility and all the side effects that people go through within treatment and recovery.
That is amazing. That really, truly is amazing. And I probably could use that too, because I have back injuries. So the blocks, I used to do yoga and it would help, but then at a certain point, it just got to the point where it was like, that hurts a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, the blocks will help. And Takiri, about your Thrive Beyond Cancer initiative and nonprofit, tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and how people can contact and find out. But first, let us know exactly what it is.
So Thrive Beyond Cancer is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3. So if people want to donate, they can go to our Instagram page to donate. We're actually doing a workshop right now on Monday, for people who have chronic illnesses, whether it's cancer or it's not cancer, who are looking for like some emotional help, really, if their chronic illness is taking an emotional toll on them. One of my really, really good friends, she's a psychologist, and she deals a lot with trauma. So she is walking us through how to manage, your chronic illness and just dealing with trauma, whether it's whether you're taking care of someone who has a chronic illness, or even, a lot of us, we all know people who have transitioned. I have
Mhm.
2 very, very, very close friends. One of them had a chronic illness. The other person did not, but under the age of 40, who passed away within the last year.
Mhm.
It wasn't COVID either. So we're all dealing with something. Like everybody's dealing with something, but
Yes,
this
they are.
is really to be supportive, for that. And that's normalizing help is what it's called. It's for people who, to help you heal with trauma.
And
Yeah.
you
And
said
when I go to New York, Mary Lou, I need to take that oncology yoga class. I normally do restorative yoga, but
Yes.
I've always wanted to do that.
Well,
And
I'm having online classes as well.
She's virtual. I was about to pull that up.
Online classes are popping off as well, so you can definitely.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna sign up.
Yeah, I was just getting to that, Mary Lou. It's going to show everybody her page. There you go, right there. There's
Yes.
your class schedule. So anybody can take this from all over the world. So you do this out of a studio or you do it at home?
I do it from home right now. Yes.
So you can see all the
So there, I have regular general classes, but also my oncology yoga classes are listed there as well. Right now, they're about 2 to 3 times a week. So I'm just trying to gauge where people's schedules are. So, I always accept feedback because I know people have different schedules. So if anybody's open to one-on-one, I'm open to one-on-one as well, because I know not everybody can make, say, a Saturday morning or Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That is really cool. And Takira, you where is it? I was just about to pull it up for you.
Oh, the workshop?
The workshop, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's online too on Monday, so you can be anywhere again. I guess everything's virtual, these days.
Yes.
So
Yeah, there it is.
there it is.
Oh, wonderful.
October 18th. So
Yep.
and so And that's great that you said therapy. Never really thought about therapy after these things. It's more like you figured it would just be like, oh, I don't have it anymore. But you said dealing with everything,
Mm.
Yeah.
you need some therapy.
There's a lot of grief to deal with. I mean, a trauma, but you got to think about the grief that it comes with it as well, of
Yeah.
what you feel like you might have lost or are losing because of whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
People are going through
Are
it.
there links to share? Yvette, I will post some links. I'll send you the links directly, but I'll post it with the replay of this on YouTube. So I'll get the information. I'll get all their information to post as well. But yeah, definitely will be links to help sharing books. Any books beyond Radical Remission?
And there's this book. It's this woman. I did like a summit where I interviewed her. And Bernie Siegel's book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, is really, really great. He's been doing this for like 40, 50 years. And then this book called it's One Woman's Journey from Cancer to Self-Healing. And she talks about everything, like things we don't even think about, from childhood trauma to our emotional state, like everything. It's really eye-opening. It's amazing. I'll send you the name of the book as well if anybody wants to read it.
Most definitely. Another good one is Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. He's somebody who is very science-based. He claims to have healed himself. He was in a car accident. Maybe you benefit, Linton. He actually had a spine fracture, I believe.
Okay.
And through research, through science, he developed this program. So he does a lot of different types of meditations and focuses on how the mind heals the body. And Becoming Supernatural is recognizing your own strengths in that.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so I'll definitely take a look at that. Before we go, I want to say thank you, ladies. This was ultimately just amazing.
Yes.
I was just, like Kiri said, I'm honored to share your energy today, and I'm being blessed with you guys allowing us to have you tell your story to everyone. The information shared was amazing because I know a lot of people who are dealing with this. My sister-in-law, is dealing with it, and this was in her honor to make sure I can get as much information to help her deal with the aftercare, and maybe help her get a community of people that she can reach out to via virtually. I mean, this world has made it so even though we're far apart, we're still able to be connected. So, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and just in general, cancer as well has been something that's affected my family, and I have a personal connection to it in a way, and it's always been something that I've always supported and tried to help anybody. Like when I saw you and Takiri, I was like, I know how it was for my grandmother. Like, she told me, she would always be like, we lost her, but she was like, hey, make sure you finish school, do these things, blah, blah, blah. And it was almost like prophetic, like you said, Takiri, like she knew something I didn't, because it was just like, oh, I'm going to see her next week. She'll be fine. But, so I'm always had that soft spot in my heart for that situation. I lost my uncle as well. So I'm really happy that you two are here with us to do this show and to do what you're doing in the world and helping others. I really want to thank you for that. And before we go, I wanted to let you know where people can contact you and whatnot. So Mary Lou, let's see, I think I have your info. You can go ahead, tell them where.
Yeah, my Instagram is Wellness with Mary Lou. I just changed it to match my website. So the website is the same, wellnesswithmarylou.com. So you can reach me there. On IG, you can hit the email button if you want to reach me via email. Facebook, always message me there. I'll definitely reply. Or, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know.
All right. And you, Takiri?
You can reach me Instagram, Facebook. My website is takiri.com. So, yep, just Takiri. And this is another book, too. I just want to share real quick. You Can Beat the Odds by Brenda Stockdale. This is a really good book as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. All right.
She's done a lot of work with Bernie Siegel.
I want to join Audible because I need to get all these books.
Right.
I know.
I have so many, but I'm like, I need more.
Me too.
I know. I thought the Takiri was going to start pulling books
it was
behind
just
her.
me.
I like, oh, she came prepared with books.
Book addiction.
Yeah, I have my book. I'd have to come up with a 10. Like, I don't know which 10.
But most of all, I want to thank you, ladies, for joining us today. And for anybody, we're going to provide more information. I'm going to put this in the replay on YouTube and also on the audio version on all your streaming platforms. It'll be out probably I'll do it for tomorrow. So all that information that we shared today, I'll put the links in there as well. On behalf of Micah and myself, I want to thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Yes.
Don't log off just yet. When we do
Thank you
the
for
closing,
having
to stay online.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for joining in and joining us today. You know, my wife for producing virtually, but
Yes.
also wanted to, if anybody want to contact the show here, our IG, follow us on IG at Inside Out Inside _ Out podcast. You know, our Twitter, @Felix-Media. You can watch us there live, follow us, and Facebook, our Facebook page, the Inside Out Podcast. You can stream us there weekly, and all the shows are there as well. And Twitch, we added Twitch, but I barely go on there. I got to figure out something with that. But I want to thank you, ladies, for today. Thank you, Micah, for joining us. We're going to be back next week. What a great show! We're going to do a show on fatherhood. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
dope.
We have fathers, different levels. We got fathers who.
That's right up your alley.
What's that?
That's right up your alley, right?
That's right up my alley, but it's also
Good.
helping you because you're going to be learning about
Here we
fatherhood,
go.
so you be prepared when that phone call comes. No,
We got time. We're good.
we got time.
We're good.
If you learn anything today, you have to embrace it. You know what I'm saying? You have to live life to the fullest, Micah.
Yeah.
But no, I want to thank my guests, Mary Lou Burkhart and Takiri Spencer. Shout out to both of you.
Thank you.
Continued
Thank
success
you,
in what
yes.
you're doing. Me and Michael will be back next week.
Yep.
And I just want to say thank everybody, and we'll see you then.
Awesome.